Hey everyone, do you like this background I have here for the poster of Wally? This is like one of the biggest posters I own, and I don't currently have it hung up properly, so for now this will have to do. I'm gonna get it up eventually. But I'm finally here to talk about episode 3 of The Falcon and Winter Soldier. First two episodes were okay. I'm getting into the show a little quicker than I did with WandaVision. This isn't as weird of a show, it's more straightforward. And I think if I have it correct, there's only going to be 6 episodes, so it's almost like it could be a movie. I know the episodes are a little longer. Definitely feels like a movie at times, maybe with a little extra stuff within it. But I could see this becoming a movie instead. The only reason it probably wouldn't happen as a movie is just because it doesn't have Captain America in it. So, marketing-wise, I guess, maybe Marvel wouldn't trust to put it in theaters, especially now. But even before, it wouldn't really make sense to be put in theaters. So it had to be a TV show. So now we're on episode 3. As we saw last time, it looked like Zemo was going to be coming back. He does. And they waste no time. It's actually a very well done opening scene. They kind of explain how, well, at least Bucky explains how he would break Zemo out of prison because he believes he needs him to help them hunt down whoever is creating the new super soldier serum. They say it a lot in the show too. Super soldier serum. It becomes a bit of an annoying phrase over time. But yeah, so they end up breaking him out of prison. But as he's explaining how he would break him out of prison, we see what we are thinking is a kind of like a parallel daydream, where all the, things that we're seeing where Zemo's breaking out of prison, taking someone's security guard outfit and then walking out, isn't meant to be what's really going on right now. It's just talking about an event that Bucky would like to make happen. But then we find out it actually did happen. And that's why I thought, yeah, this is actually really good. This is a really good opening. And you can kind of see the reflection of my camera right there. So I really like that opening. And then we keep things going. We have to go to and I'm going to forget the Maduri, I think is the name of the country. I'm going to get it wrong. But it's a country that was actually more prominent in the X-Men universe, from what I've understood. I guess it was in the X-Men cartoon. But they go there. It's kind of an outlaw town. They mentioned something about, going here. It's like, I don't know. I was thinking of something like Tortuga in Pirates of the Caribbean. And it's a pretty cool place. We don't see a lot of it, but I like the idea of it, where it's kind of a place of outlaws. They're trying to meet with the power broker, or at least not the power broker themselves. It's actually someone else they're trying to get information from, but the power broker has a lot of influence in this town, and we start to kind of hear that name over and over again. And it's becoming pretty obvious that that's going to be the villain of the series. Maybe. Who knows? I mean, it doesn't seem like we've had a real established villain up until now. And I know Zemo being introduced kind of makes it think, oh, maybe he'll be the villain. But I kind of like what they do with him this time around. He's not a straightforward bad guy. He somehow still has his money. He has all the money and his jets and his cars, which is kind of weird. I don't really understand how that works, but oh well, he has all that, even though he was an international terrorist. And he seems like he seems like he's part of the team, and he seems honest. He also doesn't want the super soldier serum out there. He obviously also doesn't want to be in prison, but I kind of like that they don't automatically make him a bad guy. Now, he could double-cross him. That's pretty obvious that could happen. But I kind of like what they're doing right now, and I really hope they keep with this track. I really hope they don't end up having him just be a simple double-crosser. If anything, I just hope that, he helps them out, but then he does abandon them because he doesn't want to go back to prison. I think that'd be a lot more interesting. He finally puts on the mask, which is awesome. It's actually during the scene where it seems like he's gonna run away from them. But he doesn't. He actually saves the group, which is great. And then this different land that they go to, which is, it's a made-up place just for the Marvel Universe. They meet Sharon Carter again, which we haven't seen her since Captain America Civil War, and ever since they're like, yeah, we don't need you anymore because we found out Captain America is going to end up with Peggy Carter somehow. So they kind of forgot about her for that reason. But I like here that they reflect on what happened in Civil War, and they show that not everybody ended up getting off scot-free, including Scott, who, got off scot-free in a way. Ant-Man jokes. I miss Ant-Man. But they show that not everybody who broke the Accords ended up getting, a get out of jail free card, especially ones that weren't involved in the Avengers directly. So Sharon Carter's one of them. She's actually on the run. She's selling art now. She has this really kind of mansion-like place. She throws parties. She's actually pretty cool, and she has a lot more personality here. She's a little more snappy. She's a little more defiant of the system, or at least she doesn't believe in the system as much anymore, and she kind of wants to do her own thing, and she doesn't really trust people as easily. She's a much more interesting character now. Not that she wasn't before, but before she kind of stood in for the, typical CIA agent who, who's one of the good ones. Not a bad one, not a double-crosser, fighting for the good cause, but definitely just a reflection of what Captain America was, and not really much more beyond that. But I like here that she's actually given a chance to breathe, and, even the actress is given a lot more to, she's given better material here. So I thought that was a really great change, especially since it really gives the impression that it's been 5 years. I feel like we haven't seen that a lot yet in these shows, because everybody who we've seen in previous movies, or, who was introduced before these TV shows, who were involved in the blip that happened between Infinity War and Endgame, all of them disappeared for 5 years. And that's kind of the only reflection that we've gotten. But if you've disappeared for 5 years, you're kind of just continuing from where you were 5 years ago, So we got that with Spider-Man. We got that with Wanda and sort of Vision. And we get that with both Bucky and with Sam. So I think it's a lot more interesting that we actually have someone who's been around. I say that, but I guess we don't really know if she was blipped. I guess I say that a little too soon, but I don't think she was. They seem to add more to her where she actually maybe was around. She also had to deal with, not just like the 5 years, but she had to deal with the fact that between Civil War and Endgame, she's actually been on the run. Same with Zemo, who, he's been in jail for all that time. And so some years have passed. So I like that both of those characters, they've given more material to. They're a lot more interesting, and they make this episode. For an episode that kind of ran around a lot, I felt like there was maybe a little too much going on. We are running to this different country, and then we are dealing with this random person who has a connection to someone else that they need to get to, and it goes by really quick. And I like shows, or especially movies that do that, but when it becomes a 50-minute episode and you're doing this much running around, it starts to be a little bit much. At one point, then they leave, and then they meet up with Sharon Carter, and then they have to leave there to go to this place with all the crates, and they meet this guy who reinvented the super serum, and all of that was really interesting. I thought the actor was a bit, much. I wasn't a fan of his performance. It was him and that lady that was that Zemo helped the guys meet up with. Both of them seemed a little off. Like they kind of seemed like a bit, I don't know, like they're overdoing it. For the MCU anyway, it just felt like they felt kind of cheesy. And what's weird is that they are both killed instantly. So I don't know, maybe the creators agreed, like, yeah, let's get rid of these characters. I don't know. But yeah, then we run away from that, and then we are running to the next scene. And it's weird because we don't get a lot of the other side characters this time around, because we have that new Captain America, John Walker, who we see a little bit of, and we kind of get an idea of what the last 5 years, or at least after what happened in the last 5 years, and how they created a new group to help those who were displaced because of the blip. And, I think that's a very interesting concept. It was something that was somewhat touched upon in Spider-Man Far From Home. People lost their homes. Maybe they don't have enough supplies for the new abundance of people that have reappeared. And I like that this episode kind of establishes that there was a group to take care of that, but maybe they're not handling things well, which isn't surprising. I mean, that's kind of the common occurrence in the MCU. Government agencies are usually not the best. And they kind of have a wonderful ad at the beginning that shows the wonderful things that this group is doing, but they immediately cut to the group, who is like a police force with, army tactical gear, breaking into this location to find these people who have been stealing supplies, and John Walker really wants to go after them. I wonder if it has to do with the super serum. So, because I don't think he has the same super, powers that, like, the original Captain America had. So, I think we're going to find out that that's probably a lot of what John Walker wants. And we actually see John Walker in action this time around, and how he treats people that he meets up with. And he's a little nastier than Captain America was. He's a little meaner. He's got a little more grit to him. He doesn't go too far. It's not like he's beating the hell out of guys, but he gets his face bad, and he's like Superman. He's like, he pretty much is treating the guy like he's disrespecting the whole country. He's one of those guys. And I think that's really fascinating, because it's just, it's the kind of Captain America and Avenger that we haven't really seen before. Not that he is an Avenger, I guess, but, I like that they're kind of adding this kind of darker quality to a new Captain America, and it's kind of giving the audience like maybe he's just misguided, or maybe he will actually be a villain. And, I'm kind of thinking, I think they'll go the easy route and probably make him somewhat of a darker villain or something, but who knows? They could also, surprise me, like I'm hoping they'll do with Zemo. I hope they don't make Zemo the villain. I hope they do kind of just leave him as is, help the group, and then run away. And I think that would be much better, because I am liking all the characters. But that's all we really get of John Walker, and he's kind of out of it. And then we get a little more of Carly and what she's doing with the Flag Smashers. And, we kind of see what they're doing. And there's a scene at the end where, they steal supplies, but they also blow up the building. And, she goes a little too far with what she's doing. So, they're kind of a more obvious bad guy. But I guess that depends on this group who is gathering all the supplies and not properly distributing it. Maybe there is an evil quality to them. So maybe after the fact we'll find out they were, maybe they're Hydra. I don't know. Maybe they're a really bad group, so she had a good reason to blow them up. But I don't know if she knows that, so I don't know if it was fair to blow up the whole building. But yeah, there's a lot of running around in this episode that I'm like, we could have filled out some other episodes with this. The other episodes would have maybe been a little too fast-paced then, which, I kind of liked that there were a little bit of a slower pace to the first episode, even though it didn't bring me into the show right away. It's like, I kind of like that the MCU takes a slower track sometimes. Sometimes it's nice to just rest. That's why I really appreciated the first act of Endgame. It was just a moment to relax. And we kind of need that every once in a while in a series that has a lot of action surrounded it. But this one did have a lot of running around. I think I liked it, but, it just makes me think, man, if this was a movie, I feel like this could have been amazing. And I don't know if everything needs to be a TV show. But, so far, I'm into what they're doing now. And I actually saw the episode twice. And it felt like it was good to watch twice. It didn't feel like the second viewing was pointless, or I'm just doing this just because. No, it felt like it was worth watching the second time. So it kind of have a good rewatch value to it. I mean, you got to see Zemo dance around twice. And that's the thing. I kind of like that there's a little more personality in all these characters. Zemo was kind of a boring villain in Captain America Civil War. He had an interesting plot, but not the most interesting villain. I like that they made him a little more interesting. And, but, we don't really focus on a lot of the other stuff that was introduced prior. So John Walker, for being in it for a couple minutes, we don't see a lot of him later. The villain, or I guess the Flag Smashers, I don't even know if they're going to be the villain. I know they were villains in the comics, but, you know, we see a little bit of them, and then they're kind of gone. Not getting a whole lot of them. And then we also have Sam's sister, you know, that she was prominently featured in the first episode. And then she's kind of been gone since then. And in this episode, there's a phone call between her and Sam real quick, but it kind of goes nowhere. And I'm like, you know, with the drama surrounding this boat, are they going to be able to keep the boat? There's just a lot going on, but it's all interesting. You know, meeting up with that guy who recreated the super serum and the fact that he disappeared before the project was completed. He was actually hired by the government to do it, and he came back and they had canceled the program. I thought, oh, that is so interesting. And we're just getting so many angles to that. You know, there were positives to the blip, but also I like that we're seeing a lot of like how people were displaced, how things ended, how, you know, not everybody was able to continue their lives the way they wanted to. And I think we're evolving into what will become a very interesting phase 4. So as of right now, I'm looking forward to the rest of the show. Like I said, hope they don't make Zemo a villain. I hope they don't just make John Walker a surprise villain. I hope there's a little more complexity to them. I think they're going to maybe go with the power broker idea a little more. Or maybe with the Flag Smashers being villains, even though I think they're just kind of being a little extreme with their ways of helping people. But I think, you know, just because they were villains in the comics, maybe that's what they're going to do here. But they could be pulling the fast one on us like they did in Captain Marvel. So, we'll see. I think I like it. I really liked this episode. I just thought, you know, they threw us around to a lot of different settings, and there was a lot going on. But I really enjoy the characters, and I like the twists that we're getting on their personalities versus the movies that they were more prominently featured in. So, that was my thoughts. Sorry, it was kind of all over the place, like this episode. Thanks for watching.